Esperanza tries to reason with Eddie. And we get the gag at the end of this episode when it comes down to the paternity test of Alex's baby. Let's talk about this shit. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is If Loving You Was Wrong, Season 5, Episode 6, and the name of this episode is A First Date. This was a really good episode, y'all, and I can't wait to tell you guys what went down, so let's talk, y'all. So, the episode picks up where Lucian goes into Kelly's hospital room, and she was MIA. Once he walks out of the hospital room, he runs into the DA. And let me tell you, this DA is one nasty, mean bitch. I already hate her from the... Because they actually showed her last season. But we already see him right now. This DA don't give a damn about Kelly. All she cares about is her own self-perseverance. So let me begin. So... pretty much, she runs into Lucian because she knows Lucian. She's like, what are you doing here? And he tells her, I'm here protecting Kelly. And he says that, well, I just talked to the doctors. They told me that there's nothing wrong with her, so we're about to transfer her back to the prison. And then she says that, and then she begins to tell him that, yeah, I just came from a press conference, the press conference with Travis's family. That yeah, there's a mountain of evidence, and you know, Lucian is trying to reason with her like, look, there's a lot that's going on with this case, but it seems that you don't want to listen to reason. She's like, it ain't my job to listen to reason. That's for the jury to decide. Now, either you move or I'll get these officers to move you. So he steps back and lets her go in there. But you know he's hesitant because he thinks Kelly's missing. But it actually turns out, well, let me begin. Let me keep the ruling. So they go in there. He's shooken up because he's thinking that Kelly has escaped. But then she comes back and she was like, oh, we got a problem. We don't have the key. You know, we don't have keys to the cuffs. So you're going to have to uncuff her. And he's like, what? Alright. He goes into the damn room. Kelly's handcuffed to the bed. So Kelly went to the bathroom. And that's why she wasn't there. Because I even had my suspicions, like, either, you know, they didn't took her back to jail and he ain't know about it. Or she ran off. We just know that when Lucian came back to that room, Kelly's ass wasn't in there. But before he actually goes in there, to notice that Kelly's actually there, and she handcuffed herself back to the bed like he told her to. She pretty much, you know, the damn DA, she's messy as shit. She's like talking like, you know, what is the deal with you and her? You need to let this go, because I'm here to let you know, based off of what they have on her, she's going down for this. And the reason why she was thinking something was wrong, because obviously Lucian was shaking up thinking, oh my god, Kelly's escaped and now the DA's here, this really gonna be some shit. But it turns out Kelly was in the bathroom when he went in there and thought that she was missing, and in that meantime Kelly had got back in bed and handcuffed herself back, and he goes in and he handcuffs her and she's like, no, please, I don't want to go back to jail. And, you know, she says, like, could you set up a way that I can talk to Justice? And Lucian says he'll see what he can do. But, you know, they got to transfer her back. So then, after that, you know, after that whole thing gets taken off, you know, they handcuff her and they take Kelly back to the prison. Then we see... You know, then afterwards, Lucian and the DA have another conversation. And again, she's saying, like, so what's the deal between the two of you? Is there something improper going on? And he was like, well, what's really going on is that you don't give a damn about justice. And she's like, I do care about justice for Travis Kane. And then like immediately Lucian started smelling the bullshit. He was like, oh yeah, because he is a big church member, he is a big pastor, and he has this great following, meaning Travis's father. So she's like, so I'm now starting to think you're aligning yourself with them because you're up for re-election, and that due to his influence in the community, this could work in your favor. And here it is, you are willing to put an innocent woman in jail for life just for your own prestige. And she was like, oh no, honey, I don't want her to be in jail for life. I want the death penalty. I'm like, kill this bitch. Kill her now. Cause she don't fucking care. And it's obvious. She's about her own prestige and doesn't give a damn about whether justice is being served or whether right is being done. And if anything, I think she's more aligned with Travis's family than she's letting on. So then we get this scene with Esperanza and Larry. And let me just say, Esperanza, you are one stupid bitch. And it even shows even more at the end of this episode. And I'm going to get to that. So she goes to sit in with Larry. And she tells him that she's trying to find a legal way to get her ex to leave her alone. And she explains that, he makes my life hell at work. He bullies and harasses every guy I date or meet. And I'm just tired of this. So Larry pretty much suggested that, you can get a restraining order. You can get a restraining order against him. Or you can have him fired, for sexual harassment. And she was like, well, that's going to be a problem because we have a daughter together and we work together in the same building. But he was like, it could still work though. But she's like, but I want to go a different route. Because, I have dates, times, dirty deeds, that he's done. And all of a sudden, Larry, the antenna's coming up because he knows it's about what's his face, Eddie. So he's like, tell me more. And then she's like, I don't want to do that. And you could just see that Larry was getting bothered. Like, he's like, this stupid bitch. I'm giving her solutions and she's shooting them all down. Like, what the fuck you here for if you ain't gonna listen to me? So I kind of felt where Larry was at that moment. He was just like, man, this bitch is doing the most. But then, then she was like, well, what? And then he was like, well, what do you think what do you think I'm supposed to do then? And she was like, can you hire somebody to kill him? And he was like, absolutely not. But we know damn well that shit toyed in his mind because that's his main plan, is to kill Eddie, unbeknownst to everyone else. But then she was like, oh, I'm kidding. And he's like, yeah, right. And he's like, I'm kidding too. And I'm like, yeah, y'all both really want him gone. But then again, Esperanza be on that fuck shit, and that's the reason why she gets what she gets. So, based off of this episode alone, everything that Eddie has done to Esperanza, she deserves every bit of it. Because Esperanza be playing fucking games. And I'm so not here for this bitch at all. So, but she's like, I really don't want to kill him, but I want to threaten him in a way to get him to leave me alone. And Larry was like, well, hey, dirt is always good. And she's like, but I don't want to ruin his life. Bitch, he's ruining yours. What the fuck you mean you not trying to ruin his life? Anytime you try to get close to a man or try to build another relationship, he sabotages it with his bullying and his bullshit. And then he even harasses you and berates you at work and shit. Like, he's ruining your life. And she just has this blind loyalty to Eddie when Eddie ain't even an ounce loyal to her ass. That's why I'm like, this bitch is stupid. But then Larry says some smart shit. He says sometimes people's lives need to be ruined, especially when they're ruining yours. And then she thought about it. Okay, how about I go for sole custody of my daughter? And Larry was like, I can make that happen. You know, but then he was like, I can put that to a judge, and yeah, I can make that happen. And then she's like, but let me speak to him first, you know. But how much is this gonna cost me? And she says that Larry was way too eager to help because he got it out for Eddie's ass, and he definitely got something set up for Eddie. And I'm just so waiting to see what that's gonna be. And he was like, she was like, how much is gonna cost me? Larry told her, well, since it's Eddie, hell, I'll pay you. Like, you know. And she's like, oh yeah, I heard you guys had a run-in with each other. And she's like, yeah, it kind of upset me, but it just became rocket fuel for me. And I'm like, yeah, that damn Larry is coming for Eddie's ass. So we're gonna see what's gonna happen with that. Now, following that scene, we see that Randall is coming back after him and Larry got into it. And we also find out that in that scene from last week, Larry in love with Psycho Betty. He wants Psycho Betty to be his. And so everything he does is to protect Psycho Betty. So we see that Psycho Betty comes home after having his little run-in with Larry. He starts drinking really heavily, calls Marcy, and starts talking shit like, you really think you smart, huh? You and Larry set me up to sign those papers. Like, motherfucker, did you not listen to Larry last week when he told you he did that shit for you because Marcy was about to take you for everything you had? Especially because you killed her baby? You probably was gonna get jail time. So, you still got that damn house, still got that car, and still got your career, all because of Larry. Larry didn't do that shit for fucking Marcy. He don't give a damn about Marcy. He did that shit for you. He sees Marcy as competition. So, Randall is still on his bullshit, still trying to taunt and bother her. And he was like, so what you gonna do, huh? You gonna send your little boyfriend over? And she's like, yeah, maybe he'll whoop your ass again. I was like, Marcy is got... The real thing about this is that, look, I'm gonna be real. Randall, with his psychological expertise, he be Me Tooing bitches. That's what he's doing. He Me Tooing bitches left and right. He did the same thing. I mean, we see them trying to do this shit right now with Tanya, but he's done it with Alex, and he's also done it with Marcy. The real reason why Randall is mad is because Marcy broke out of his control, and now she's no longer submissive to him, and that's where he's angry. You know, because she broke away. And then also that she found another man. He don't like that shit. So he's still doing all his bullshit, you know, and she pretty much hangs the phone up on his ass. Then she ends up calling Brad and tells Brad that Randall keeps calling her, and he also lets her know that, you know, he presented the papers to Alice, but she hasn't signed them yet. You know, she's gonna have them reviewed before she signs. And then like that damn Marcy was like, yeah, and I'm also thinking about hiring a drug addict to kill Randall. And then he was like, no, don't be like that, you know, that's not the way to do it. But I'm like, but in all honesty, Brad could kill Randall easily, you know, because he was special ops when he was in the military. He knows some special skills, and he will fuck Randall up. Because let's be real here. When it came down to that whole showdown with Alice's family, when her stinking ass mother dropped a baby inside the river, who went to save the damn baby? Not Randall's old punk ass. Brad went in there, swam, and saved that baby's life, and didn't care whether it was, you know, croc infested waters. He risked his life to save that kid. So we already know who really got the cojones in the situation between Brad and Randall, and it ain't fucking Psycho Betty's ass. So we got that. We pretty much had that situation go on, and they were kind of going back and forth, and that was it with that. Then we get a scene with Tanya and Bennett. This is after, you know, everything went down when Tanya was outside talking out of her head, butt ass naked, and was just doing some crazy shit. You know, we're seeing that this is the morning after. She has gotten some sleep, And she even asks, Bennett, how bad was it? He kind of lets her know that, it wasn't as bad as you think, kind of smoothing it over. But then we also come to find out in this scene, this is the reason why they moved. It was because of her. It wasn't because of Bennett. Because I was thinking maybe Bennett, because we obviously can tell that Bennett has a crush on Alex. And that there's some spark there. And I'm thinking that maybe he was fooling around with bitches and shit, and that's the reason why they got put out. No, they had to leave their old neighborhood because of her situation and her outburst, battling mental illness. But then he asked her, do you remember anything from last night? And she was like, yeah, I remember I was cold, and that neighbor, who was a psychologist, he was kind of weird, and I don't ever want to talk to him again. So she's starting to come to now that she's taking her medicine and got some rest. So then he has said that, but then she also explains that, you're at work and I'm home by myself, and I'm afraid because I don't know these people. And he suggests that you should get to know some of the neighbors. And he mentioned Alex, and we just kind of see her face like, I'm like, so she know Alex is competition, because Alex is pretty, but Alex is a bitch, and I'm gonna get to her ass later. So let's roll on. And he also mentions Natalie, and then we also find out that she wants to be a mother, but she can't have children. And he was like, why do you want to stay with me? I can't even give you. And he was like, that's okay. I love you, and that's all that matters. And he tells her, you can't stop taking your meds. And then she says something that I was fine until he talked to me. Talking about Psycho Betty, and so it's just being clarified from her. She was okay until Randall came over there fucking with her, and that's what caused her to have a psychotic breakdown. So then we see that Natalie's in the house. She calls Marcy to check up on her, and I'm saying Natalie is the only one that's given Marcy the time of day, because everybody always wants to be sympathetic to Alex and her bullshit. But y'all forget that Marcy is the real victim here. She was screwing Marcy's husband. Marcy's husband then in turn made her have a miscarriage. Like, Marcy's going through it, and don't none of them reach out to her. But as soon as something happened to Alex, they all running, oh, Alex, are you okay? Fuck Alex! Shit! Anyway, so they talk about her losing a baby, and she talks about having divorce, and they also discuss Kelly. And she was saying that, that guy was bad news, and it's just so messed up that she thought killing herself was going to solve the problem. I'm like, yeah, but what's coming down the pike, I would understand why she would want to do that, because she's being railroaded. And, you got Rick, who's doing an investigation into that, and then you got Ian, who knows the full truth and ain't saying shit because Ian's a bitch. Let's keep it moving. But then, he was saying that, man, it's just so messed up. Because all of them got bad dudes except for Natalie. Natalie got Lucian, and Lucian is like the good king around the neighborhood. He the only one that's doing right. And if anything, she had told Natalie, you got a good man, Natalie. And she's like, yeah, I know. And I'll kill a bitch to keep him. I'm like, you better stand by your man. And then she had asked Marcy, has the police called you about that fire? She's like, no, I haven't anything. And besides, they ain't got no proof anyway. Like, that's what I'm saying. Marcy has now become competition to Randall, and Randall ain't gonna stop until he wins, because he's that damn self-righteous, and he's that evil. So we see that going on. But then next thing you know, Brad shows up, with flowers. So she gets off the phone with Natalie, and he pretty much says that he wants to take her somewhere nice. It's going to be their first date. So you mean to tell me of all the screwing and licking and sucking you two have been doing on each other, y'all never been on an official date where y'all exchange wine and pleasantries with each other? But this is a good thing. Like, he's really showing that he's really into Marcy and he wants to build a real relationship with her. You know, because pretty much what they were before was just jaded people, and because they both were jaded by their spouses, they ended up fucking, you know, as a result after what they've been through. But they've never really established a true relationship, and now they're starting to work towards that. But I'm saying, Brad, you may be moving a little too soon because you might get the shock of your life. Just saying. So then we see that Natalie is on her way to the grocery store because, you know, Ian's supposed to be coming over for dinner. And she walks down the street and notices that damn Randall, aka Psycho Betty, is sitting on his porch with binoculars looking into Tanya and Bennett's house. And she calls him out. She's like, what the hell? And he was like, what you doing? Mind your business. What you want? And she was like, you was looking up in that woman's apartment. You know, like, what the hell is your problem? I'm gonna tell that man that you messing with his wife and all this shit. And he was like, well, go ahead, do what you gotta do then. And she's like, you know I cut your ass before, right? And he was like, oh yeah, I remember that. I don't forget anything. I'm like, because I remember when he was up in the hospital after Alex had the baby and she was slicing his ass with that razor. I was laughing my ass off because all you said was, shh. You ghetto bitch. I'm like, you better get his ass, Natalie. So they go back and forth and he talks his shit. And she was like, man, I wish your ass would have burnt up in that damn shed. And he was like, oh, you know who did it? She's like, uh-huh. Yeah, I know. He's like, who? And she said, it was me. He's like, nah. Your ass too motherfucking clever. You ain't pull that shit. But she's like, but hey, I'm like a rat and I know where to find the cheese. And he was like, yeah, you a hood rat. That's right. And they just kind of go back and forth. And eventually she just walks away because, you know, motherfucking Randall's ridiculous. But then we see later on in the day, Bennett comes over there to check Randall to let him know, like, you talk to my wife. And he's like, what y'all talk about? And Randall was like, well, I just welcomed her to the neighborhood, you know. And he pretty much tells him, don't talk to my wife ever again. My wife suffers from mental illness. You know, do not talk to her. And then he, you know, Randall being the asshole that he is, he's like, but hey, she's gonna have another breakdown. And it seemed to me that you're jealous. You're like the jealous kind. And, you know, Bennett was like, no, I'm the loving kind. And he lets him know, don't talk to my wife again. And he went on about his business. And I'm like, he, as a man, told you don't talk to his fucking wife. Because first of all, you had no business going over to that damn house and you knew that Bennett wasn't there. You never talk to his man's wife unless that man is present. So you were already disrespectful off the gate. And coming from the South, you should fucking know better. But then again, you know, that's why his mom probably, Miss Louise, she probably went home somewhere and don't even deal with his ass no more because her being attached to him got her into some shit. Especially when she found out the truth on what he really did to Marcy. So, all of a sudden, we see that he walks out the house after him having a conversation with Bennett. When Bennett told him to stay away from his wife, he all walking, talking under his breath like, don't mess with me or I'll make that crazy bitch even crazier. I'm like, oh, this motherfucker gotta go. See, Randall is the type of motherfucker that you either gonna have to put him in the grave or you have to put him in a straitjacket. But you're gonna have to put him somewhere and restrain his ass. Because as long as he's able to walk free and willy, he's gonna continue to just cause problems. And he's a self-righteous asshole that he would do that. So he goes from that situation to knock on Alex's door. You know, he's still trying to get Alex all up in bed and trying to flirt with her. But she's like, I'm not here for this. This is about the baby. And he's like, yeah, RJ. And she's like, his name is Brad. He's like, well, we're going to have to talk about that. And she's like, we're going to have to talk about a lot of things. Um, and then she notices that his ass has been drinking. And he's like, yeah, I had me a drink or two. I'm like, damn, motherfucker, you damn didn't finish the whole bottle. Because your ass is just on one, and you just been drinking and just been causing hell and havoc to everybody that comes in contact with you. But she said that, look, this is going to be a deal breaker. If you're going to come over here to see our son, you cannot drink. And at first he was giving us some lip back. I'm like, dude, you're dealing with an infant child. You need to be sober when you're dealing with a baby. You fucking idiot. And because he got defensive over that shit, I'm like, she's telling you some simple common sense, and you don't even have that. So they pretty much trying to talk about, she's trying to say, she tries to have a conversation with him in regards to the baby, and then she was saying, I think you need to take another DNA test because I think there was a mix-up with the DNA. And they mentioned also Dr. Roston and all that, and he was saying that, oh, so she's the one that messed up the DNA. You told me she did, Alex. That's what you told me. He's like, she didn't. She didn't do anything. It was a mix-up, and I just want to test the DNA to make so we both know that we're sure. But then his ass tries to go on his tangent that, well, how the hell is that even possible? What, was you with Lucian? Was it the mailman? Who else was you screwing? Between your PTA meetings and cooking and cleaning, who else was you screwing? Because you told me I'm the only black man you ever been with. But then she tells him that I've been doing some research about, recessive genes and things like that. Something that her and Dr. Roston was talking about. And he was saying that, do you got black in your family? And she said no. Does Brad have black in his family? And she said no. So that just goes to show you this baby's mine. Who else, if it ain't mine, then who else have you been with, Alex? And then she's saying that, look, and then she just kind of like just plays to the crazy, and I'm like, Alex, first of all, you shouldn't have had his ass up in your damn house in the first fucking place until you know for sure who is responsible for the birth of that child. You shouldn't even be talking to him. But here Alice with her simple ass done brought Psycho Betty up in the house, and then Psycho Betty kind of flips and was like, look, let me find out that this kid ain't mine. You thought what I did you before? That ain't shit. Let me find out this not my kid. And then all of a sudden she's like, come on, come upstairs and see your son. But you don't know whether that's his son or not because the DNA before said he wasn't the father. And he doesn't want to do one because that was the whole basis of his argument. Why do I need to take I'm the only black man you've been with. Why do I need to retake the test? It don't make no damn sense. Yeah, because it said that you weren't the father, so actually retaking it would make sense, because if you get a second result and it says you're not the father, chances are 99.9% that you're not. Fucking idiot. Alright, so we saw that go down. Then we get this whole thing between Esperanza and Eddie. And I must say, Esperanza, you deserve every damn thing you get because you're dumb as shit. And you're full of it. So, because earlier she had ran into him, tried to talk to him at at the precinct. They were going back and forth with each other, and she suggested they should meet for lunch so they can talk. And we need to kind of put things, we need to work things out. And like and like Eddie was just rude as fuck to her too. Like he even had made the comment that the only thing I'm scared of, like she said, like, what, are you scared of Stevens or something? And he was like, nah, I ain't scared of Stevens. You know me, I ain't scared of nothing. I ain't scared of your ass unless I fucking check that ass and it ain't waxed. I'm like, oh really, dude? You disrespectful asshole. I can say I can deal with Eddie's crazy more than Randall's, because I have to say, in my opinion, Randall is the most evil person on this show, because he knows how to affect your mind, and he plays off of your psychosis, and that's how he makes you his victim. Because that's exactly how he got all of the women in his life. He plays off of their psychosis. He mind fucks them. As I said, Randall out here me tooing bitches. But Eddie, on the other hand, he's just blunt with it. He's a straight up asshole. He tells it like it is, and he ain't afraid to scrap. Like, he crazy like that. So they go out to lunch, and she's pretty much saying that, look, this is going on way too long, and I think we need to be civil to each other. He's like, I am civil. What you mean? And she was like, Eddie, you're the most uncivilized human being I know. He's like, you know how I can get. So as of right now, I'm being civil. So what you trying to say? And like, getting real defensive. And then she said that, what happened to you, Eddie? You were a different person back in the day. And he was like, no, I wasn't. I was always like this. And she was like, no, you weren't. You were not the same guy. And he was like, oh, I just played the good guy, and then my real guy came out once I got your ass. So I'm like, bitch, he's letting you know right now he doesn't give a fuck about you, and he just used you to get what he wanted, and he played with your emotions, and he played with your feelings. Kind of the same thing Randall does. But he just blatantly told you, like, bitch, I played your ass. That wasn't really who I was. I just did that to suck you in. You know? And then he was saying that, but Eddie, why is it that every time I try to have a life or I try to date somebody, you always trying to find a way to sabotage it? He said, simple. If I can't have you, nobody can. You know? So then she decides, oh, I'm going to pull a stunt. She pretty much puts out the papers. I want sole custody of our daughter. And, you know, they're going back and forth. He calling her bitches and shit and all that. She had to slap him like twice. Because you know Eddie's disrespectful as hell. And then she puts out a list like, oh yes, and this is a list of all the shit you've done that I've documented. So, bitch, you're one of the main reasons why Eddie's so fucked up. Because you've been covering for his ass. You've been allowing him to do the bullshit that he's doing. And you've been saying hush, hush. And here it is, you think you're in a position to judge Kelly? At least Kelly had enough common sense to kill her attacker. You've been playing with him all this time, and you wonder why he's gotten worse. Stupid ass. So then she was like, you know what? I'm going to go talk to my lawyer when I leave here, and this is going to go into effect. I'm going for sole custody of our daughter, and I'm going to shut you down if you don't leave me the hell alone. But then she goes to check to see if she got money, you know, because she's going to pay for her food and leave. She checks her shit. She done left her wallet at the damn precinct. And she's like, oh, I got to go back and get my... And he's like, oh, no, your ass ain't leaving this table. Nah, bitch, you gonna pay for this meal. She's like, won't you just pay for the meal, Eddie? She's like, I ain't paying for shit. Oh, nah, bitch, I ain't paying for nothing. He's like, yo, she'll fucking bust it open for a hamburger. Yeah, you better go in here and do some whole shit. You gotta be sucking people off or something, because that's the only way you're gonna pay for this meal, because I ain't paying for shit. And your ass better not get up off this table, or I'm gonna take your ass in. And then the owner came and it was like, she's good. You know, I know, Esperanza. She's good for it. She can go and get her money and come back. I know she's good for it. He's like, oh, nah, that ain't what's going on. Because at the end of the day, she should be in here paying her money. And then he was rude to the damn owners, like, get your fat ass away from here. You don't know what the fuck you talking about. She's gonna fucking pay the bill, and if she don't pay this bill, I'm locking her ass up. And they just got going back and forth. The next thing you know, he's handcuffing Esperanza and shit, and saying like, oh yeah, I'ma handle your ass. You know, you don't go into fine establishments and not have the means to pay for your meal. And all, like, he used that as a way to lock her ass up and to stop her from getting to Larry. So I'm like, your dumb ass deserves it, Esperanza. You deserve it, because you ain't playing this shit smart. You acting like your fucking man ain't the devil and that he's evil, and you thought your ass was cute by pulling that stunt, but bitch, you can't pull a stunt and not have an exit strategy. You talked all that shit, but end up being stuck at that damn table, and it gave Eddie the upper hand. So bitch, if you gonna play those games, you have to know your opponent, and clearly she don't know her opponent at all. So that's what so then the last thing in the episode, Dr. Roston comes in, and she lets her know that we need to talk. I have been talking to the board of the hospital as well as my attorney off of what you did, and she's saying that, look, Randall will make a huge thing out of this. So personally, because of that, because, you know, Randall's trying to file a lawsuit against her. She knows of it. So she says, so because of that, I re-ran the DNA test, and these are the results. And Alex was gasped. So I'm like, oh, so we come to find out probably that Randall ain't the daddy, and that baby is probably Brad's. That's going to be the real interesting, but then again, it's going to kind of figure out how is it that they had this dark-skinned baby, and how is that possible? Because, you know, a lot of people, if you shake their family tree, you'd be surprised what falls out of it. So that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. They didn't actually mention who the daddy was, but I think they're going to reveal that next week. But it was an OMG moment where you like, and her reaction just told it that Randall ain't that baby's daddy. So we're going to find out, you know, next week who really the pappy of the baby. So that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of If Loving You Was Wrong. So until next time, everybody, take care.